Hey everybody, I'm Mike Krupa, and 1/1 renewal season officially upon us right now. So I figured it'd be a good idea to talk about broker compensation because now is the time you should start demanding broker compensation disclosures as part of your requirements under the Consolidated Appropriations Act. You're supposed to get these before contracts are signed. So today I want to talk about three different forms of compensation for brokers, and two of which I'm going to review on an actual 5500 form. So there's three types of compensation a broker typically gets. Base compensation, which in general is what you know about. Override or supplemental compensation from carriers, which is publicly available, but you got to look for it. And then three, undisclosed compensation. And the only way to get after that is to ask for it. So I'm going to use an actual 5500 form, just one page, to kind of highlight where you can look for some of this information if you want to find out how much you're paying your broker today. And so to be clear, this is public information. I pulled this example from efast.dol.gov/5500 search. And do this often when I'm working with prospective employers to help educate them on how much they're paying their broker today. And so this is a Schedule A. There's going to be one of these for each line of coverage. This is a medical line of coverage, and it'll say the insurance carrier here, and it'll say your broker information here. The important pieces in here, here's your compensation here, repeat it again here with a little bit additional information. All right, so let's talk about the different types of compensation. Number one, you have your base compensation here, right? This is likely something that is built into the premium, or the insurance carrier is paying the broker in some form for the base compensation. In this case, it's $5,500. On the other side, you're going to see this other form of compensation, which has a little bit more of a description here. Here is that second type of compensation called an override, sometimes known as supplemental compensation. Now, this compensation is more of a bonus for brokers. So most of the major insurance carriers out there all have these supplemental compensation programs for brokers. They look at us as their sales force. And so they provide compensation at the end of the year based on how much business you retained with them and how much new business you wrote with that carrier. And these overrides can be pretty big in some cases. So it's important to kind of look at that part of total compensation as well. Now, in this case, the override is $43,334. Now, if I'm a betting man, there was probably an error on this 5500 because these numbers feel like they should be flip-flopped. That looks like more of a base compensation. If that is an override, that is a pretty high override, probably one of the highest I've ever seen on an employer. But these are the different pieces of information you can start to pull. Again, on your 5500, you're going to have one of these for each line of coverage. And so then you can go through, you can add them all up, and then you can truly understand what you are actually paying your broker. And then that third form of compensation is undisclosed compensation. And I'd say probably most common, I see these forms of compensation on self-funded employers. Unfortunately, I saw it a lot at the last stop I was at, where leadership would negotiate these special deals with these carriers, and they would basically have money baked in to fees that was completely undisclosed to the client. Good example would just be the ASO fee that you pay your third-party administrator. The broker goes to the third-party administrator and says, hey, can you add in $1 PEPM for me into the fee and then just pay me that money separately? Well, that doesn't necessarily always show up on any form of compensation whatsoever because it all happens behind the scenes. And unfortunately, the only way to get after this is to ask your broker that question. And so that's my advice for the employers out there right now is you could start to use this information in your publicly available 5500 that you had signed off on and start to educate yourself on what is out there. Add it all up. Is that a reasonable number? And then you go back to your broker and approach them and say, were there any other forms of compensation that you got paid on behalf of our account? And then you just stop and kind of listen to hear what they say. I do believe if you ask your broker this question and there is compensation built in, my hope is that they would disclose that information to you. But that's more of kind of the dirty things that I see going on behind the scenes with some of these big box brokers, is these special deals that they negotiate that their client has no idea about, and the only way to really find out about is to ask about it. And so hopefully this information was helpful to you. Again, here is the website you can go to if you want to look at your own Form 5500 and start taking a look at what's in there. Next up, I'm going to talk about a case study with a prospective employer that I've been working with in some things I uncovered on the compensation as I was reviewing their Form 5500s. Until then, I hope this video was helpful to you, and have a great day.